Good afternoon, guys. I'm Logan from the Backwoodsman Institute, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make a natural ground blind that you can use to hunt turkeys, go deer hunting, whatever you want to hunt from the ground, and you don't want to get up in a tree stand. So stay with me. It's going to be a good time. You're going to learn a lot. Catch you in a bit. First, I want to talk a little bit about camouflage and what's going to give away your position to the game you're trying to hunt. There are 6 recognition factors that are going to make you stand out to the game. Alright? That is your shape and your outline, just how like my body is straight up right now. There's nothing breaking it up. They can see that outline. Then we got contrast. Contrast is the color of the camouflage you're wearing to the color of the environment behind you. As you see right now, I got a lot of green behind me, so I'd want to have green camouflage, a lot of camouflage with green in it to blend in with this background. And color and texture kind of goes along with contrast. Alright, but color as in green on green, not like this brown on green. And texture, you want to have something that has a 3D effect to it. Then we have shine, like we talked about with my face painting videos, and how your hands, the natural oils on your skin, that make you shine, stuff like that. If you were using a scope, if the light's hitting you from the front, you can reflect off the lens on the front of the scope. That's why when you set up, you want to have the sun mostly behind you, so the animal you're trying to hunt is looking into the sun at you, and you're not doing the opposite way. So sun's in your favor. Then we have movement. Whenever you're sitting there, you want to be as still as possible. When you want to move really slow. You want to look with your eyes, not with your head. Alright? So that's a big thing. Movement's going to give you away position as well. And then shadow. You want to stay in the shade as much as you can. So those are the 6 recognition factors that I said. And I said color and texture. It made it sound like 7, but color and texture I categorize in the same thing. Also as shape and outline. So shape and outline, contrast, color and texture, shine, movement, and then shadow. 6. Let's talk about the selection and the placement of our ground blind. Alright, if you're hunting turkeys, you want to put it in a spot where you can call the toms in or the turkeys in that they won't be able to see you until it's too late. Alright, but if you're deer hunting, let's talk about the aspect of deer hunting. You want to find a trail that's traveled a lot, or that you've scouted out, that you know that big old buck runs across, or whatever you're hunting, the trail is going across. And you want to set up. I usually like some standoff distance of no less than 20 yards. 30 to 40 yards is about my standoff distance where I like to be at when I'm setting up a ground blind, because I know I can shoot that far. Now with a firearm. Now if I'm archery hunting, you might want to be a little closer. Alright, so it's all up to you. 20 yards is basically the no closer to the trail. That's the standoff distance that you want as the minimum, 20 yards. Alright, but you also got to factor in the wind. So what I like to do is, if I got a trail that's coming up and I want to set up on one side of the trail and on the other side of the trail, 2 ground blinds up on the same trail or in the same funnel of trails, because one trail might give you a good avenue of approach, but if you got where some trails cross and they intersect, that's a place to put your ground blind. So at the intersection is the ideal place where you want to put it. Now I say I put 2 up on each side because you don't know what the wind's going to do on the day you want to hunt at that spot. So I have 2 different options on if the wind's coming from north, south, east, west, whatever. I can choose my ground blind setup based on how the wind is blowing that day. Alright, for instructional purposes only, this is where I'm going to set up my ground blind. I have a notional trail, an intersection of trails 30 yards away, and this is one of the sides that I'm going to set up my ground blind. So it's real good here. I got a lot of stuff behind me. If I was sitting down like this, I got a lot of stuff behind me to break up my outline. Remember, shape and outline is one of the key recognition factors. Also, I got to think about contrast, color, and texture. Alright? So behind me, I have some green, I have some sticks, I also have some dried up brown leaves right here. So whenever I make the blind in front of me, I need to match some of these colors. I don't want to have all green because there is some brown and some twigs and just some other dead stuff around me. So I want to mix and match and make it blend in with the object behind me. Alright? So that's contrast and color and texture. So that's what we're going to be focusing on right now when making this ground blind. I'm going to show you how to make it right now. Alright, what you're going to need is, we have a few pieces right here. We need some wide pieces to make this ground blind. So you want the pieces to be, if you're sitting down, you want it to be about chest high, so probably about 3 to 4 feet off the ground. And if you make them a little longer, you can trim them down whenever you want. But what I like to do is, I don't use anything that's living. I take everything that's dead off the ground, or that's been blown over in a storm, whatever. That's all you need. You don't need to cut down any trees to make a ground blind. Use the stuff that's already laid down. Alright? So right here, I'm just going to make this a little shorter. I got me a little camp saw right here that I'm using. Pretty nice to make ground blinds with. Now when you saw this off at your 3 to 4 feet, what you can do is you can saw it in at an angle so it's easier to put in the ground. You got a little point on it. Now if you got a hatchet, you can do this a lot easier because that's how you cut into it. Alright, so now I got 2 pieces I'm going to use. I need a cross piece that's going to fit from this Y to this Y. I might have to take this down a little bit to make it pretty much the same size. Or I can just hammer this one in the ground a little farther. But now I need a cross piece. And I'll probably just use the same piece on this log. That'll work. Alright, so now I'm going to head back over to the blind. Alright, so now I'm back in my spot where I'm going to set up my blind. I want to figure out what I want my front to be. Alright? And how I do it, I'll hammer this stake into the ground, this stake in the ground on my front, and I'll put a cross piece up like this across to the other thing, so that's my front. And then what I do is I make another side, but you gotta have one side that where you can get into, alright, that you can get. So the other side where you think the animals might approach from, I set up another thing with another stake off the side. So I have 3 sides encased around me, and I have one way that I can get into. So this right here is going to be my front. I'm going to hammer these in the ground, and I'll set this up, and I'll show you what I mean.